This is CW Winter. We're at Playdoc 2025, speaking with directors from the main competition. And yeah, we'll start in with some questions. Well, it is often correctly said that film is a visual medium. The photograph or the cinematographic image is usually poorly discussed in film criticism. And so, as we have a collection of filmmakers here for whom image is actually important, I was wondering if each of you could share with us what are the qualities of an image that are important to you in the making of your particular work? Do you feel comfortable to start, Jean-Claude?
If I understood the question, yeah, maybe. So, you were saying which kind of quality?
Yeah, what are the qualities of an image that are most important to you?
I maybe wouldn't say it this way, or there is an image, or there isn't an image. But there is no different quality of an image. If there is an image, and if you see it, maybe if you have the material, any kind of material, you can keep it. And this image could be maybe shown. But different qualities of an image, I don't understand quite well.
Yeah,
or there is an image or there is no image.
Yeah, by qualities I mean more properties of an image or aspects of an image, more than quality good or bad. I mean just what are you looking for in an image?
Like color, do you mean?
I would say I am expecting the image, but I'm not looking for an image. And sometimes, fortunately, you see the image, but you don't know when, you don't know where. And when you see the image without any idea of it should be, it hasn't any way to respond to something I am waiting for. But if I am, this is where I start to miss the English words. If I am taken by an image, this is enough. Or there is an image, or there is no image.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Curtis, for hosting us. For me, the image, you could look at the image with every set of eyes. I think what changed the image is our eyes, or how we see it. Because for me, an image could be something, or could mean something, but for other people, or for the people next to me, will be different quality, different expect, or even if it isn't an image. So for me, it's more about who is seeing than the image itself. I don't know. I don't know if you have something to tell me, Margaux.
I don't know so much how to answer a question theoretically, but I can maybe say that when we were shooting or editing, what mattered for us was that we were aligned. So aligned, that we were like, yeah, that we had the same gut feeling. Either for shooting, one of us would say, hey, let's shoot that, and if the other one would agree, then we would shoot it. If not, then we wouldn't. And for the editing, it was the same. It was, when I look at this image, I feel this or that. I think this image brings us with the desire of this or that. Do you agree? And it was only through intersubjectivity that we could appreciate the quality of an image. But it's all very, very intuitive.
abstract.
Yeah.
Camilo?
Well, I think that I really understand the question about what is a construction of an image, and I think that I'm looking for two different kinds of constructed image. One that I can completely control, and that means that I can build a set with specific lights, with specific colors, to know exactly what's going to be the result of the image that I'm going to shoot. And I'm also looking for some images outside, completely uncontrolled, that just happen to be the thing to shoot. And but actually talking about image, or what I expect about image, is difficult, because I think that we are speaking about audiovisual, and what I want of an image, well, I mean the job for an image, is to announce something that I cannot announce by the sound, and vice versa. And sometimes I use a lot of very concrete sounds to allow my images to be very abstract and get the concrete by the audio.
Mm. Thank you. Pierre and Vincent.
Français, tu traduis et tu fais les phrases courtes. Bien sûr. Ce qui est important pour nous, je crois, quand on fait une image, c'est évidemment comment elle va être faite, mais avec quoi et avec qui et où.
What is important to us when we make an image is with whom it is made and where and how.
C'est-à-dire le rapport qu'on a avec, je ne sais pas si c'est le sujet ou l'objet, objet du désir souvent.
Which relationship we have with the subject or the object, which may be object of desire.
Si tu es d'accord.
I cannot think and translate.
Non. C'est-à-dire qu'il ne s'agit pas de filmer n'importe qui, n'importe quoi, n'importe où, n'importe quelle situation, juste pour faire l'image. Ça a toujours un rapport avec, pour nous, avec la vie forcément, mais peut-être quelque chose aussi du quotidien.
Making an image is not a question of how and with whom and what subject, what situation, but it has to do with life and everyday life.
Okay.
Ça va?
One thing I'm interested in with each of your films is that you each have quite different and very specific ideas about what a location is. In some cases, they're found locations. In some cases, they are built locations. I'm wondering if you can talk about the importance of place for you in your work. And I'll go in reverse order this time. Pierre and Vincent, you had a very specific geographic location. Can you talk about this place and its importance to you, and how you came to know it, or what it meant to you?
So in this film, it's places we know. We know from childhood as the first location, or we live nearby, like Le Havre and Vatetot, or it's Marx Brown's place, which is extremely specific. So it's we have the vision of inhabitants, actually, dwellers, people who belong to the place. Same thing with the people who join us in the film. They are companions in life. Like Sophie Roger is a filmmaker and a childhood friend for Pierre, and she was a student of mine. She's the one through which I met Pierre, and so on. So very close ties between us, and close ties to the places. Enough?
As you wish.
Enough.
Okay. Camilo, in your case, you couldn't find a place. You had to make it. It had to be created. Or not that you couldn't find it, but you chose to create it from scratch.
I wanted to create the place.
Yeah,
and it was like a decision.
So can you talk about that?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know if the question is only about this film or probably the whole filmmaker idea. Because I think that I have a problem with places, actually, and it's the very beginning of my filmmaking was because I am from Colombia, and then I went away from Colombia in a difficult period, and then I started making films to go back to Colombia and to try to have a register of why a lot of Colombian people had to emigrate suddenly because there was like a no future situation. So going back to Colombia was, then the location of Colombia was the beginning of my filmmaking. And actually when I arrived to Colombia, I understood that I was not anymore able to conceive the reality in Colombia. So I started to make like films that were not very rooted in that place, that were constructed. And now I'm like an abstract Colombia. And now I think with this film, it is my first French film, because I'm living in France. I have been living in France for years, and it's like the first film where I actually live, and it's developed in a constructed place, an unreal place. So I don't know what that means, but I mean, it's like what I want to shoot, or my necessity to shoot something, is about a place that is not really concrete.
Good. Which brings us to talking about a film where the relation to location and subject seem maybe more tenuous, or they could relate or they could not. There's a story we hear being told, or stories we hear being told, and then we see a place that may or may not be directly tied to these narratives. We're unsure as an audience member unless we're given more information. So can you talk about how the place related to the specific stories, these diaristic thoughts?
Yes, so the film, it starts when we found a diary in abandoned house. And the diary is about this drug addict falling in love, expressing his feelings for a prostitute girl. And I guess we started on that house, the shooting or the location. We started in that house, and then we through the diary we draw a way to the end of the film, geographical, and we just kind of follow this drawing, geographical drawing, and we between the places, so it's kind of abstract because we can't know where this specific place is, but also it addresses the feelings he's having on the moment of the diary we are exposing. So the location reflects somehow the inside of his feelings, or inside of his love, lost love, or unrequired love. Yeah, please go.
And I think the region where we found the diary actually is quite important, because it's the zone in Portugal where you had at some point one of the biggest, if not the biggest, mine of wolfram or tungsten, which is a metal that's used in warfare because of its high resistance to high temperatures. And so at some point there were thousands of people living in this little region around near the Serra da Estrela, the mountain in continental Portugal. And then with the mechanization of industries, people left the neighborhood. So you really feel that this place shows something that was and is no longer, which made sense for us as a poetic object or motive corresponding to the diary of a man who thinks the relationship with the girl has been something and is not going back. And I wanted to mention two more things that you addressed. I think you mentioned the aleatority of the images, or that the image that the images might seem aléatoire, and that and also the fact that people, the viewers, are not told where the film is shot. And I think that our intention was not to reveal directly, and through the insistence of not revealing, making the viewer think that this might be connected, and maybe trying to himself find connections, and play with between aleatority. How do you pronounce it? Aleatority.
The aleatory, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's aleatory in English.
Voilà.
Sure.
Between the fact that the images may seem aleatory, and that some other times they match much closer either the mental state of the writer, or even the elements. And so we try to play with that, and I think this is something we like when we make films, not giving it all to the viewers, but distilling signs for him to think.
Great. Thank you. So Jean-Claude, you return to what I think is a hotel in this film. You've shot in hotel rooms before.
I did.
So tell us about these locations. What is it that brings you back?
I don't know. First, I would say, when you see the image, and this is why, if you have the material, you start to shoot. If you see the image, you are nowhere anymore, you know. And if you enter the image, it's just a way to disappear. And I think this is the same thing, as you noticed, for the different hotel room where I shot. It's much easier to get this feeling in hotel room than in your own flat and your own room, or the rooms of someone close to you, because I would say it's for different objects, it's connected with feelings, and this is what makes it difficult to have the vision of the image. But if you have the vision of the image, if an image happens, I would say you are not anymore in any place. You know, this is what I feel. If I was looking for something, it would be that. But I don't look for anything anyway.
Okay. In the dominant culture of filmmaking, most of the decisions are made in advance because of a kind of risk aversion. Everything is decided before the filming takes place for the most part. There are scripts and committees and storyboards and all these things. But each of you is making films quite different than the dominant culture. And this idea of knowing what the film is comes later. And I'm wondering if each of you can talk about at what point you feel you know what it is that you've made.
You to speak. No?
What?
Okay.
Pierre and Vincent,
Pierre.
you start. At what point in the
No,
process do you know what you've made?
À quel moment du processus on sait ce que le film va devenir dans notre film?
Or what you are making?
At the beginning, we knew there
On
would.
ne sait jamais tant que c'est pas fini, non?
On sait jamais. Okay, we never know until it's finished. But at some point,
Même quand c'est fini.
even when it's finished, we don't know what it is. Well, nevertheless, we decided from the beginning there would be two kinds of images, and it's through editing actually that the decision came. Well, even though that's very early in the process of shooting, that Pierre figured out that there would be two separate parts in our film. So now we didn't know how it would work altogether. So we knew there was a sort of homogeneity in the les images numériques, numeric images, and a kind of atmosphere which couldn't be interweaved with the other kind of images, while the other images had another climate and had to come together. So this early became a twofold film, like an open book with 2 pages. With our previous films, we started without knowing what it would be. The first film, we went to the Shetland Islands, not knowing what we would do. Same thing in Himalaya. That was our first films. Then we went on. We discover when we make, just like artworks, actually, you are not sure what you are doing until one moment you stop. You say, that's it. It's what it should be. Have I answered?
You have understood. Which brings us to Camilo. I mean, your film, from what I know of it, took a journey. It began as a series of episodes and collapsed into a single film. Productively collapsed. Time-wise collapsed.
Well, probably just a word about this idea of why we appreciate to work this way, which is kind of unusual. And I think that maybe we all agree that we see filmmaking as a production and not as a product. I mean, we are more not what's going to be the result to the product in a capitalism way, what we can probably be the end of the film is less interesting than the process of working on the film. And that's, I think, in a way, is a political approach to image, why we want to privilege this kind of working, and not the having films to be products to sell. And actually, yes, the thing is that is kind of a tricky way to make them, because of course at the beginning you have like an idea of that's going to be the general look, but actually the materials, the conditions, I don't know, things happen the reality fits into the film and condition the way you're working. And then I think in my case, yes, I wanted to make a series of 26 episodes. And finally, I have only a single film of 65 minutes. So a lot of work was put away, destructed in a way. Like a painter when he decided that there are a lot of canvas that has to be destroyed and then the exhibition is going to have only one. And I think it's like a very final decision on the editing. But I think it's important, this process of destruction. Yeah. I don't think that in the main industry you have to destroy that much. The idea of having preparation is to avoid this kind of cases of you have just to...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw everything to the garbage.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I think I would maybe go to the way of the common idea that film doesn't exist without its viewers, so that the object, Raúl was writing to me as an idea for this answer, that the film is not finished, and I think it's a bit true, because it's only when people watch it that it makes sense somehow. And about knowing what film we're making from in advance, I don't know how you function, but I know that I just start with an idea of a sensation, and then as if I was following some fiber in some very dense wood, I follow this sensation and I try that the film gives an account of this sensation, but it's something very vague. Do you want to say it?
Yes. The start of the film, it's something that for me, as before I finished school, or after I finished school, I started to film and I didn't stop yet. So I think it started there, because you are, even if it's different films or you are completing films year after year, you begin in the first time you start filming somehow. And this was a feeling that I have, that I want to capture these things that I really am passionate about, or I really like. There's something special in the way I see it, or in this thing I'm seeing now. So I want to capture, to see it again somehow. And yeah, for me, the film, we have to, when it's finished, or we have to, like, this object is complete. You don't mess with it again. But in a way, we are kind of obligated to do that, because like external obligations or external compromise, or even you that you want to put out something, and you kind of obligate yourself to do it, to stop or to finish a film. And that's why I think it's not finished, because also when I watch it again and again, I see different things that I didn't see it before, and it's always creating things inside of me, like connection or relationship, because I'm growing, and the film is also growing in each one of us. And yeah, that's it. It's always living. It's kind of life, like Vincent was telling. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I would say what makes the film difficult to appear is what you have in mind. I mean, a mental image before being in the place, which means before shooting. And this mental image can be very precise, and most of the time it's written. And this makes a screenplay, and you are looking for the image, but you won't ever get it because it's hidden by the mental image. So what I would like to be able to translate in English is what we can read in the Bresson's book, Notes sur le cinématographe, we can read. In fact, he repeats someone very well known in art, because we are talking of images. This means cinema cannot be but art. And Picasso said that, but before Picasso, Corot, in French I would say it, je cherche pas, je trouve. And if you are looking for, you won't ever get the image. But this is very well known for centuries ago, because I don't know where someone was speaking of the antique writer Pliny. I should say Pliny? No, Pliny, okay. And so there is something very interesting about this Greek painter. We haven't kept any work of him, of course. But he was looking for the drawing of a horse totally exhausted in the fight, and he wanted to show l'écume by the mouth of the horse. And he couldn't arrive to do that. He didn't succeed to do it. And finally, he gave up. And he threw away I miss the English word, the material he was using for putting. He threw it away, and it went just on the canvas at the right place it had to be to make to show the mouth of the exhausted horse. And this is it. And it's amazing, more than, it's not enough to say centuries ago, how you have there what art is. You cannot get what you are looking for. It's always unexpected, and it's when you give up something could happen. But it's very difficult to give up if you have so precisely written, expecting the image and describing it. You won't ever see the image. You are unable to see it because it hides the image, what you have in mind. So I could say that.
Thank you. Okay, so one might notice that we've talked a lot about the image so far, which happens often in discussions of cinema. So I will force a discussion about sound because each of you is using it differently. And yeah, I'm wondering if each of you can speak to how you've used sound in your film. You two, not only with field recording, but with voiceover strategies, etc. So, Pierre and Vincent, can you talk about sound in your film?
In this film or
this film?
Dans ce film, parle des voix, des sons. Vas-y.
Il y a deux parties très très distinctes dans les 7 promenades avec Margaux. Une première donc qui s'appelle le tournage où je filme avec une petite caméra légère numérique et Marc Braun est équipé d'un HF, d'un micro HF.
So there are two really different parts in this film. In the first, in the shooting of the film, Pierre has a camera on his, has a microphone on his camera, which gives the surrounding sounds, and Marc has how is it called in English?
Lavalier. Lavalier?
A micro-cravate.
Yeah. A lavalier mic, yeah.
Lavalier? Bon, okay.
Fréquence, comment ça s'appelle?
Haute
Un
fréquence.
micro, comment ça s'appelle? HF. Haute fréquence, ça veut dire, c'est ça.
High frequencies, HF. So,
Ok. Bon, donc c'est la première fois que je vais travailler comme ça parce que je suis plutôt contre. J'aime plutôt pas. Si je n'aime pas tellement, c'est comme si ça séparait l'image et le son, quelque chose que j'aime pas. Donc c'est la première fois et en fait c'est la voix de Marc qui parle quand même beaucoup à lui-même, aux autres, aux plantes et sa voix va être vraiment mon guide, c'est-à-dire que c'est presque plus à sa voix que je vais le suivre, presque plus que à l'image. Et c'est très nouveau pour moi. On s'en fout ça, mais...
okay, have you understood, or should I translate? He has never done this before. It's the first time he uses the HF microphone. And Marc, who loves to talk and talking all the time to himself, to people around, to plants. So Pierre is following the voice, actually.
Et dans la deuxième partie, on a enregistré la voix de Marc qui regarde dans l'émotion les images qu'il va découvrir. Et avec cette voix, on avait envie de garder quelque chose qu'on entend, j'ai l'impression, rarement dans le cinéma, c'est le son du montage, c'est-à-dire quand même essentiellement le silence.
The second type of sounds we have are those taped during the while we were editing the film. So we invited Marc to look at the images of the herbarium, and he reacts with emotion in a real soft voice, very intimate. And we tape the silence around of the room of the countryscape where we do the taping.
Et ce silence était possible parce qu'on s'engueule pas trop sur le montage.
This silence was possible because we don't fight at all while editing, which may be wrong.
Okay.
But
Enough.
there is one particular image in the herbarium that you listen the water, like running water, or it's there. It was this.
Yes. Only one image.
Yeah.
Il y a une seule image où
Yes.
on entend the river, la Seine. It's the one sound. So we had the sound from the tournage, from the shooting, and we put it on that image. It's the only one.
On voulait pas complètement s'interdire cet artifice de mettre du son comme s'il était synchrone sur de la pellicule muette. C'est un peu...
We didn't want to be dogmatic, say, and forbid ourselves to do this.
No, I thought that I could imagine, like just watching,
Yeah.
you could imagine that sound.
Well, this location exactly is very important in our lives.
Yeah.
Je ne dois pas dire ça.
Quoi?
C'est un endroit très important.
Non, mais aussi c'est que l'eau est l'élément constitutif vraiment du film et des 7 promenades, puisque voilà, on commence par la Seine, l'embouchure et la mer.
So water is a really persistent aspect of our film. Each of the places where we go are along the water and rivers and so on.
Thank you. So then you have made the most probably vertical sound of any of the 4 films we're discussing here.
Yeah, well, actually, because my previous film was completely soundless. I mean, we was shot completely without any sound recording. The film just before this one, and we did the whole sound in post-production. So after this first experience, I was like in complete free system about this. I was confident on what we were able to create with sound. So the film, this one now, which is called Room of Shadows, is in a room that we built. It's like a room in a building, and we built completely this room into a lab. Actually, is a l'abominable, which is like a collective lab where people go to develop films, and so it's a very noisy place. And so the idea was not to record live what we were doing while shooting the film, but to create then the idea that this room of shadow was in a city in wartime. So you have all these fictional aspects of what is happening outside the room, and they are all created. So the image, how can I say that? Or probably like the big part of the fictional plot of the film comes from the sound. And just to say that, because Jean-Claude talked about this book by Bresson, I'm just following what he wrote about sound and image. He wrote something about they have to complete themselves. And he said something that sound is the real thing, like reality, that allows image to be so real, something like that. So I'm trying to just construct in between this tension what is able to do one to discharge the other from another responsibility, just to be sure that they are not both doing the same thing, which is something that happens a lot in films. Like you see what you are hearing, and that's something that I don't like that much.
Sound. It's a real good question. When we are starting to shoot, we go through these places and we carry a sound recorder, a stereo sound recorder, and we are like recording many ambience and many sound effects, and also because were running into people and we show them parts of the diary and they read it to us, and we were like collecting these sounds through the shooting until one moment when we started to edit, we realized that the voice that we gathered was very different in terms of background noise, but also the energy was not quite right. So we figured out a way, and Margaux, please help me with this, but we figured out a way to kind of put the voices all together, because actually we wanted this fragmented voice because we didn't want to give an identity to this man. Like we are listening to many voices, like this private thing, individuality thing, and if we join all these voices, maybe we could express that these feelings could happen collectively, like we are each one of us feeling this way or another in some moment of our lives, and this was our intention. And so we gather people we met and people who are friends of us and people that we come across to make like this group reading, like what we are doing here today, more or less. And this moment was really intimate moment because we are together reading this diary that speaks in a way to all of us. And yeah,
To elaborate.
yes, if you want to elaborate.
Yes, I think we went to explore and to see how to build a polyphony. And rather than building it artificially on the editing system, we wanted to make it happen, since it was also something that was very much at the core of the project conceptually, the idea of not leaving our little thing inside ourselves, but trying to process it collectively. And to do so, we gathered the people, and then Raúl was one of the readers, so I was the little chef d'orchestre, and I asked a friend of mine who's the boss of, not a boss, but the maestro of a choir, how to make the group feel as one, even if they didn't know each other. So we did some exercises in this sense, and then we asked them to read sequentially one sentence after the other without deciding who would read, so that they could just come in. The other needed to be respected. And if there were two people starting at the same time, one had to withdraw and let the other speak. This was what we called the train. So we did a lot of trains also to gather material. And then we had this I found it very special moments of what we called the rain, which was everybody could speak whenever they wanted. The only thing was that they couldn't go back in the text, but they didn't need to say everything. They could answer each other. They just needed to follow the chronological order of the text and feel the group. And that was very. I mean, some moments of this recording are just such as they were recorded in the film, because we felt that something happened all of a sudden. We felt the collective energy of the musicality of each other, in one, and that was, as a process, that was very, very nice.
Yes, and then we go to the sound editing, and we start, like the editing process was started with the sound, like with the ambience and the sound effects. We first edit that, and we tried like to figure out like ways in the sound, or like to what we are feeling with this sound that we collected, and we arrived to this sound base or soundtrack, yeah, the ambience and sound effects, and then we added the voices, and also we complement each other or adjusted and try to understand which feeling that we are feeling here, and or which meaning do we want, or this connection we are making, and try to adjust. And only after that comes the image. We edit the image after the sound, and this, I think, influence a lot of how the film is structured in terms of image, because we don't have like a chronological, or we don't, this aleatority that you're speaking about, it comes also from the sound somehow. Yeah, but I feel the sound, as you said, Camille, it gives the image a more reality, but the sound is also really abstract thing, because when you hear something that you don't see, you can imagine anything, but if you watch it, it's different. Yeah, it's a different feeling or perception. Yeah, that's.
Thank you. And when you, with Jean-Claude, with your film, we don't just have sound in terms of what we hear, but maybe with what we don't hear. You made a film called Flamenco.
Don't you hear the flamenco?
Oh, well,
I mean,
I want you to speak about the sound.
yeah, so maybe first it would be to say sounds, it's a material. So it starts to be a little bit dangerous if you lose the materiality of the sound. And the risk is when the sound is words. I mean, someone speaking. Because what it means, it takes you away from the materiality. And so, as I think it was said, it's not a question of understanding, which when you start to understand what it's said, you miss the materiality, the reality of the sound. And by the fact you are taken away from the film. And I have in mind, for instance, in some Godard's film, when you follow what the character is saying, and suddenly you hear a plane, very noisy, and you cannot follow anymore what was said. And this was necessary. I'm sure at this time of the shot, no plane was passing by. But it needed to cut the understanding. And it's a question, as you said, of feeling. And you use the word music. This is very important. Sound has to be always musical. And for instance, for Straub's films, of course, but also for Bresson's ones, it was usual for some part of the public to say, but people doesn't speak like that. No one speaks like the character does in the film, and of course in Straub's films. But this is the reality. It's a real, the way of speaking has this materiality which doesn't take you away from the film. When you start to follow an idea, you are out of the film. And I would say, I'm sorry to be back to the image, but an image has nothing to say. Absolutely nothing to say. And this could be said about art in a general way,
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Can I react? Because
Sorry?
Can I react to what you said?
Sure.
I would be pleased.
I think I must have to think about it, but intuitively I would tend to disagree with you saying that if you have to think you are withdrawn from the film, because I think that what I personally like in cinema, and particularly in experimental cinema, is the fact, experimental in the sense that it's the fact that the film forces in me two contradictory movements. One is that I'm taken by the sound and the rhythm and the images, and I want to follow them. And at the same time, there is something in the understanding of the film, or in the apprehension of the film, that resists, and so I have to think about it. And it's this double movement of both feeling intensely and thinking, and this tension that it brings in me that excites me a lot about the cinema I like to watch.
Okay, so I can understand what you say, but you once more, I mean the English words. You prevent yourself of, because maybe the way I was saying it's by some way a very dangerous one, and you react just to what would I say? I mean the words, so I will say it in a strong and too much a strong way, but it's just for staying alive, you know, your reaction. Mm-hmm. So the danger would be to disappear, and you react for not disappearing. But this is what in this way, art, of course, it's a risk and very dangerous. And I'm sorry to be back to Bresson and to Cézanne, when he says, Cézanne said, you can read it in Les Notes sur le cinématographe, à chaque, sorry to say it in French, I will try to translate it, à chaque touche, je risque ma vie. So, you speak much better English than I do, so you understood. At each time, using the
brush,
brush, and touching the canvas, I risk my life. So, I would say, this is what I would. In this way, we make the difference between beauty and what we call nice or joli in French. Beauty is very dangerous. And I would say something which is like an anecdote regarding the sound. One of my films was when it was screened at the Offrenois, it's a place north of France, where there are young artists. And Strobe was asking me something, I couldn't find the answer first. He was asking me how happened these étincelles, sparks in the films. I didn't know how to answer. And later, out of the theater, at a bar place, I found something to tell him. It's when the sound touch the image. When the sound touch image, it makes a sparks. You know? That's it.
Great. Okay. So, 5 minutes. Yeah. Well, I'm going to end with an individual question for each of you that hopefully can be a shorter answer related to each of your films. So, for Pierre and Vincent, what is a structure?
What is a structure?
Yeah, you made a structuralist film. What is a structure?
Qu'est-ce qu'une structure? L'architecture.
C'est un architecte.
What's a structure? It's the hidden part of a form which holds it together.
Good. Camilo, no?
Yeah.
You have a different
Well,
question.
we-
You have
we-
a different question.
Oh, it's going to be a different question.
Camilo, what is a monologue?
Is thinking with sound.
Yeah?
Thinking with sound.
Okay.
It's like the sound of the mind.
Because we discussed this earlier at lunch, because maybe the subject matter of the diary in your film is contemporarily unfashionable, and I think productively so. What is an unfashionable choice? Or what is unfashionable?
What is
What is an unfashionable choice?
in the film? Or
In general.
What does it mean?
It means it comes from inside and not from the outside.
I agree.
Okay. And which brings us to, good answer, which brings us to Jean-Claude. What is a frame?
What is a frame?
Yes.
This, if you get through it, the way to disappear, and this, it's always some kind, in French, defenestration. But the English word, would it be the same?
Defenestration.
Defenestration, yes. And so, the defenestration, you can do it once, but no more than once. But if you see the frame, you can go through different times, And it's a way of disappearing, to see and to go through the frame, entering the frame. Which means entering the image, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for a really nice conversation. That was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Obrigado.
Thank you.